to my channel, In-Flight Music. My name is Ian. As you can tell, I'm still wearing the same shirt in the past 3 videos because I recorded all these in one day.
3, 2, 1.
Alright, in the last tutorial I showed you all the stock plugins that I like using for affecting my 808. But in today's video, I want to show you some free plugins that you should absolutely download that will help your 808 stand out even more. So this first plugin is Camel Crusher. Pretty much everyone has heard about Camel Crusher by now, but in case you haven't, I definitely have it in the download description for you, along with all the plugins that I mentioned in this video. This isn't just for 808s. This is something that I like adding to my drums, adding to instruments, adding to buses. So it's definitely a very useful plugin. It might even be my favorite free plugin out there in terms of distortion. Let's go ahead and listen to what it sounds like on the default setting, which is called Annihilate. Should sound pretty nasty if I remember correctly. Now most of you will say that's pretty unusable right there, but let's go ahead and just change the mix knob and see what we can come up with by adding in the original signal and the distorted signal. So our original 808 without Camel Crusher sounds like this. So now let's go ahead and mix that in. But let's go ahead and actually pull up parametric EQ. These are the EQ settings that I had in the last video. So let's go ahead and turn that on and see what it sounds like with Camel Crusher. Just the mix knob again. And we're just going to lower this cutoff right here. And then I'm going to go into the Camel Crusher again and adjust the mix knob in here as well. The next one I'll show you is Ferric TDS. This is another 32-bit plugin just like Fruity Blood Overdrive, but this thing, it just adds subtle saturation, but it just makes things sit so well in a mix. I like putting this thing on pretty much anything. I've never used this before to where I didn't like it, but it doesn't mean I necessarily put it on everything, but it's not going to make anything sound bad, I'll say that. And let's just trim this down so that it's not clipping. And you'll hear that the overall signal is just a lot warmer than it was before. So let's turn this off. And then with it on, it's warmer, it's hitting harder, and you saw that without it on, it was actually clipping the signal. So with it on, it's actually below 0, and you can actually hear it better. So it's a really subtle effect, but it does its job. It really just warms things up and makes them a little bit more intelligible in the mix. This is another great plugin, M Saturator. I find this to be a little more versatile than the other free plugins that I was showing you. And basically this is a free plugin that you can get from the Melda free bundle. So that's something I actually recommend downloading anyway, whether or not you like the saturator, because it actually has a pretty awesome EQ in there. Because with their EQ, you could do mid-side processing, and to do mid-side process EQ inside FL Studio, it takes a couple plugins and extra steps. But with their EQ, you could just do it right inside of its single plugin. Out of all the free plugins that are out there for basic mixing, for compression, for EQ, I would say that this is the best one that you could download. But anyway, let's just go into some of the presets and let's click bass and just see what it does. I mean, already that's pretty usable right there. This JG Master section has all these different clipping settings. all sound pretty good. So let's go into their version of soft clipping. Pretty warm, soft clip 2. Warm, a little louder. Let's go into hard clipping. But yeah, that's just some of the presets right there. So yeah, overall, I would say that these presets are pretty useful as is. And then from there, I would probably just adjust the dry wet knob either here or outside of the plugin here. And then you can add things like even additional harmonics, which is basically more saturation. But you have control over which harmonics you want to add in. So you get set with, if you want to enable even harmonics or odd harmonics, just depending on what you want to do. And then you have this section right here where you could compare and contrast different presets if you wanted to, all the way up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But overall, this is a super strong saturation plugin. Saturation knob by SoftTube. I like recommending this plugin just because it's just one knob and then you just have 3 different settings. But let's just go ahead and listen to that. Just basic saturation. You can go extreme with it if you wanted to, but it sounds pretty nasty. Keep highs. That'll keep all the high frequencies. And then keep low will emphasize the lower frequencies. That's pretty great right there. This sounds awesome for any of those DJ Mustard type basses. Any of those basses that you want to use that emulate what they do out there in the Bay, out in California. Yeah, that's perfect for that, for sure. Damp PSA, another free saturation plugin. Enable the soft clipping, enable the denoiser. It's basically a noise gate from what I'm hearing with my ears. But yeah, you turn up this threshold and it will cut off the 808. It'll keep it from ringing out longer than what it was doing. But yeah, overall, this isn't too bad. Let's adjust this roll off a little bit. Let's turn the limiter off and see what happens. The knobs are named pretty well. You have your preamp, the buzz, which is literally how much distortion that you want, the buzzing sound. Punch, I actually heard a little bit of a click at the beginning of the 808. That could be very helpful, especially for something like a kick drum. Crunch, just a little bit more harmonics. Let's listen to the difference between crunch and buzz. So I think buzz is adding in harmonics while crunch is affecting the harmonics that you just added in, which makes sense that it's in the soft clipping section because it's actually clipping those harmonics. And then the drive is pushing those harmonics into the clipper itself. So yeah, you get more clipping the more that you drive it. And then this is just basically filtering out the clipping sound overall, how much of the low end you want versus how much the high end that you want. But yeah, that could be pretty useful for some more exotic sounding 808s for sure. All right, this last one is called Vox Lingo Tube Amp. Again, Vox Lingo is another one of those companies that has a lot of different free plugins. Definitely download them all. That's actually where I got Span from, which I've used in quite a few of the tutorials now. But let's go ahead and listen to what this sounds like on the default setting. It's just adding just a little bit. Let's go ahead and increase the drive. I like it better on mode 1 for sure. And it says we're clipping in the plugin, but on the actual output, looks like we're doing just fine. This is probably one of the, obviously you can see right here, this is one of those plugins where it actually sounds good where you're clipping inside of the plugin. You'll find that happen with quite a few saturation type plugins. When we turn saturation on, it actually looks like it's limiting it right where the output gain is. No, it's not. So here it says low pass frequency, but I think what it's actually doing is whatever frequency we set this to, that's where it's gonna drive the harmonics from. Yeah, that's actually a plugin that I don't use too often, but just listening to what I just did with it there, I think I am going to start incorporating Vox Lingo Tube Amp a little bit more often. Again, I included all the downloads for you in the description below, so if you like this video, definitely subscribe, like, and comment if you have any questions, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.